Добрый день, уважаемые зрители. Меня зовут Сидхазиф Симхан. Сегодня я вам покажу важный урок по теме IELTS Speaking about Healthcare, 8 часть. На этом слайде также представлена краткая информация о себе. Мы уже проходили темы по speaking, banking notes, junk food, crime, relationship, job, and work, education, technology, driving and transport, sport. Сегодня я вам покажу 8 часть, Healthcare. Начнем с первого предложения. IELTS vocabulary about healthcare. Vertigo. Головокружение. Ей не следует жить в горах, потому что там она страдает от головокружения. She shouldn't live in the mountains because there she suffers from vertigo.
And there's still a lot of vertigo going on in my head, a lot of kind of dizziness.
I'm to suffer badly from vertigo.
Chickenpox. Ветрянка. Я должен избавиться от ветрянки, чтобы участвовать в конференции в Астане. I have to get rid of chickenpox to attend the conference in Astana.
By the age of 3, he had had whooping cough, chickenpox, the measles, and scarlet fever.
Tonsillitis. Angina. You might remember us. My daughter has a terrible tonsillitis. Возможно, вы нас помните. У моей дочери ужасная ангина.
Like chickenpox, which almost all of us have had.
Remember us? My daughter has terrible tonsillitis. It's the 4th time this year. Can you help?
Measles. Rates of deaths from measles, malaria, diarrheal disease are down by over 70%. Уровень смертности от кори, малярии и диарейных заболеваний снизился более чем на 70%.
Tonsils to treat recurrent tonsillitis is recommended less often than it used to be.
Rates of death from measles, malaria, diarrheal disease are down by over 70%.
Hay fever. Сезонная лихорадка. Когда я переехал в Атрау, я страдал от сезонной аллергии или лихорадки. When I moved to Atirau, I suffered from hay fever. Most pollen that causes hay fever for us is from plants that use the wind. Большая часть пыльцы, вызывающей у нас сильную лихорадку, происходит от растений, использующих ветер.
Forensics and so on. Most pollen that causes hay fever for us is from plants that use the wind to disseminate.
And sometimes people don't have hay fever anywhere else in the world, but they get it when they come.
Prescription. Рецепт. Эти препараты должны быть доступны только по рецепту. These drugs must be available only on prescription. Он стал зависимым от рецептурных обезболивающих. He has been dependent on prescription painkillers.
Meaning that your prescription could be for a neural interface rather than a drug.
Left side, he has been dependent on prescription painkillers and...
Ugly scar. Шрам. Ужасный шрам. Порез наконец зажил, но остался уродливый шрам. The cut finally healed up, but it left an ugly scar.
I don't think of an ugly scar.
Obstetrician. Акушер. Моя мать когда-то работала акушером. My mother used to work as an obstetrician.
So I'm very interested in becoming an obstetrician, which is a doctor that deals with pregnancy.
In the mid-1800s, obstetrician Dr. William Smith believed it was the menstrual cycle that made you hysterical.
Wound. Рана. The wound had healed, so the man had survived his surgery, although it is impossible. Рана зажила, поэтому мужчина пережил операцию, хотя это было невозможно.
The wound had healed, so the man had survived the surgery, though it is impossible to tell what it was intended to treat.
So living with a wound does not oblige you to be an inspirational speaker, despite evidence to the contrary.
Inflammation. Воспалительный процесс. Вы должны вызвать врача, если область вокруг рамы воспаляется. You should call the doctor if the area around the wound becomes inflamed. Debilitating. Изнурительное. Он страдает изнурительными заболеваниями. He suffers from debilitating disease.
PTSD is a debilitating mental health condition characterized by symptoms such as intense fear and anxiety.
Of days, but my emotional pain was just as debilitating as it was lying in the hospital bed that day.
What was wrong with my mom? Because she had been sick with a debilitating disease for 25 years.
Joint. Суставы. Я когда-то страдал от воспаления сустава, которое требовало операции. I used to suffer from inflammation of joints, which required surgery.
So just tapping over the area of the muscle. Of course, if it's like a painful joint inflammation.
Handicap. Инвалидность. Несмотря на свою инвалидность, он смог победить на соревнованиях. Despite his handicap, he could win in the competition.
Applications for patients with certain handicap.
To put или to perform IM или injection. Сделать укол. После того, как мне сделали укол в ягодицу, у меня было головокружение. After they gave me the injection into the hip, I felt dizzy, vertigo.
Generally, we would ask the radiologist to perform an injection into the hip because it's...
Right. To be on a drip. Быть под капельницей. Шариф отказался поесть, и ему поставили капельницу. Sharif refused to eat and was put on a drip.
Sharif refused to eat and was put on a drip. Before his sickness and death,
on New Year's Eve, I was put on a drip due to dehydration.
Блейста, мозоль. Новые туфли всегда дают или оставляют у меня волдыри или мозоли. New shoes always give me blisters. When I ate an apple, my lips would blister and feel a bit itchy. Когда я ела яблоко, мои губы покрывались волдырями и немного чесались.
Until one day, you suddenly see a blister on your leg.
So when I ate an apple, my lips would blister a little bit and feel a bit itchy.
Injury, рана, травма. В результате крушения несколько пассажиров поезда получило серьезные травмы. Several train passengers received или sustained serious injuries in the crash. The body has no external sign of injury. На теле нет внешних признаков повреждений.
The bodies had no external signs of injury.
To be on the mend. Пойти на поправку. Ее раненая дочь идет на поправку. Her injured daughter is on the mend.
Which was unsurprising, but I am on the mend again, doing all the things that I know are supposed to.
We are not fully well, but we are on the mend, and that, for now, is very much good enough.
To pull или strain muscle. Напрячь мышцы. Я напрягал мышцы на спине, поднимая штангу. I pulled a muscle in my back lifting a barbell.
Once you might pull a muscle in your brain. I know.
Be as fit as a fiddle. Быть в полном здравии. На прошлой неделе я напрягал мышцы на спине, поднимая тяжелую штангу. Но сейчас я пошел на поправку. Думаю, я буду в полном здравии на следующей неделе. Last week I strained my back muscle lifting a heavy barbell. But I am on the mend now. I think next week I will be as fit as a fiddle.
And all of a sudden I became as fit as a fiddle again.
Per week at the local gym can help you to stay as fit as a fiddle.
Car, it's done 49,000 kilometers and it feels fit as a fiddle. And this is
to regain one's health. Восстановить свое здоровье. На прошлой неделе я напрягал мышцы на шее, поднимая гантель. Но сейчас я смог восстановить свое здоровье после того, как сделал несколько упражнений. Last week I pulled my neck muscle, lifting a dumbbell. But now I could regain my health after taking up several exercises.
He left his troops in charge of his generals and set sail for Italy to regain his health.
These are expensive, but they cause you to regain health over the course of a few in-game hours, which...
Go или come down with заболеть. Он заболел гриппом. He came down with flu. Recover from an illness. Выздороветь от болезни. Хотя он недавно заболел гриппом, Асан смог сразу выздороветь от той болезни. Also, he recently went down with flu. Асан could recover from the illness quickly. Blocked nose. Заложенность носа. Из-за заложенности носа мне было трудно дышать. Because of blocked nose, it was difficult to breathe. To make an appointment. Записаться на прием. Если вы заинтересованы, не стесняйтесь записаться на прием. If you are interested, please do not hesitate to make an appointment. To treat, to cure somebody. Вылечить кого-то. Наш доктор может быстрее распознать болезнь и вылечить ее. Our doctor can recognize your illness faster and treat it. Cutback – сокращение. Сокращение финансирования вызывает определенные риски. Substantial cutback on financing bears certain risks. Holistic medicine – целостная медицина. Welfare state – государство всеобщего благосостояния. Underfunding – недостаточное финансирование. Coach – potato – домосед. To compound the problem – осложняет проблему. To relieve disorder – облегчить расстройство. Давайте сделаем реальную практику. По IELTS speaking используя новые слова, которые я вам показал. Real IELTS speaking practice test. Допустим, у нас была такая тема. Describe your or your friend's illness or injury experience. You should say, what was it? When did it happen? How did you or your friend handle it? And say, how do you feel about it now? Well, when I moved to Atras City 10 years ago, I suffered from hay fever. Most pollens that cause of my awful hay fever was from plants that use the wind. Because of my blocked nose, hardly could I breathe. Also, I felt debilitating joint pain when I coughed. I made an appointment quickly to see the doctor. To treat me, he prescribed some pills and gave me the injection into the hip. But I wouldn't say that I recovered from it quickly. But after being on a drip for 3 days in a row, I was on the mend and I could regain my health. Now I feel as fit as a fiddle. Давайте сделаем реальную практику. По IELTS Speaking используя новые слова, которые я вам показал. Real IELTS Speaking Practice Test. Допустим, у нас была такая тема. Describe your or your friend's illness or injury experience. You should say, what was it? When did it happen? How did you or your friend handle it? And say, how do you feel about it now? Well, when I moved to Atrap City 10 years ago, I suffered from hay fever. Most pollens that cause of my awful hay fever was from plants that use the wind. Because of my blocked nose, hardly could I breathe. Also, I felt debilitating joint pain when I coughed. I made an appointment quickly to see the doctor. To treat me, he prescribed some pills and gave me the injection into the hip. But I wouldn't say that I recovered from it quickly. But after being on a drip for 3 days in a row, I was on the mend and I could regain my health. Now I feel as fit as a fiddle.